Xhosa myself, it's very important. But being based in the UK, where most objects and artifacts are kept in museums, I've come across some information that was very important to me when I was doing my research for the Arts Council, and that research enabled me to come to South Africa, to go to Robben Island actually, to look at all our heroes, not just from apartheid, but going from frontier wars. So I was researching Palo, Ngqika, Maqoma, and other warriors that fought the British. So I was enabled then to come to South Africa on doing an Anthropocene project, and that Anthropocene project has led me to meet with Umamchawe, Nosis Ncidi, and from there then the work of Maqoma just really gave birth to itself in terms of the research that I uncovered in Ireland, his cane and the grave of his grandson. So what we've done with this exhibition here in Gqunqe is to educate, the scholars, the teachers that are here, because there are many people who've been researching Maqoma, but I always say to them, they're always researching the Maqoma that they thought died. In my eyes, Maqoma has resurrected, and in the story of Umamchawe, now we are telling the story that most researchers and scholars here in South Africa are not aware of. For example, I've already mentioned the cane. I've already mentioned the grave of his grandson. And there are objects in the British museums that none of us as researchers from South Africa have laid our eyes on. These objects have been in museums since the 18th century, early 19th century. And therefore, it's important that if people want to work with myself and the Amakosazana, Kamaqoma, to make themselves aware of what the story is continuing to be. So, for example, myself as a researcher, I'm working with Queen's University of Belfast. That's where I'm based in doing my research. And in there, we have archives. We also have archives in the Ulster Museum, which I brought to South Africa this time around. So I think the story needs to continue to 2013. It doesn't end when Maqoma was killed on Robben Island. I mean, it's a two-way thing for me, because as much as I want to put my scholar hat on, I want to put my researcher hat on, but I have to realize that first and foremost, I'm a child. I'm a child who's asked specifically by the family to honor this great man, and therefore must humble myself. As Mamcha has already said, that when you enter these gates, you have to put all your credentials, all your scholars and everything else at the gate, and be prepared to learn. And this is what this journey has done for me. The more I humble myself, the more Maqoma reveals himself to me. So in January 2024, the Public Records Office of Northern Ireland, which hold the records of the military, the marine, they will be opening their doors to us in giving us more information. And that information is important because, remember, Maqoma sank the famous ship Rebecca Heart, and therefore the dismemberment of the 74th Regiment. So all of those documents are held in the Public Records Office of Northern Ireland. So Maqoma's story is a tripod, as I always say it. He reveals himself in Ireland, he reveals himself in Scotland, he reveals himself in England, and therefore we're always focusing in South Africa. So this tour for the Amakwasasana Maqoma will be an eye-opener, but they will bring information for this village. And I think it's important for the curriculum going forward that it's not just a 150 celebration or commemoration, but it is also, this is the rewriting and the retelling of history. I think for me it needs to be told mostly in Europe, because the narrative needs to change. We need to shy away or move away completely and dismiss the narrative that we are victims. This, we have to realize that this was an empire. It was an imperialist agenda to take our land, to imprison our people. And therefore, the story or the narration will always glorify the hunter in the African proverb. So now that the lion, us, have learned how to write our own story and tell it, then we have to take it to Europe. We have to challenge them. And it is in that with my research that I'm doing. So when we have these talks in the Public Records Office, we are putting the records straight. When we have these talks in the museums, we are challenging the narrative that they have of these. So for example, I had to correct them on the actual labeling of the king. They have it labeled as Maqoma from 1880. It's Maqoma. There's nothing stopping them from making those corrections. So along the way, Europe has got a lot of things to correct, and they've got repatriations. I'm not saying that in South African terms it's not important, but this work is already ongoing here, but it's not ongoing. For example, the objects and the artifacts that were brought in the 18th century are still in the basement. And with what's happened in the British Museum with the theft, these things will go there for another 200 years, and they'll actually be more damaged rather than being returned to us, our rightful owners. So I think Europe now it's time to answer for what it did, and also face the reality that we can now narrate our own stories.